like, it was like kind of like spooky almost.
That sounds familiar.
Yeah, no, it was like the place looked like it was a old like mental asylum almost, or like an old sort of like.
That's kind of reminding me almost of the laundry episode with Star Parkville. This is what I love. It gets Star versus gets better in the later seasons, like season 3 and 4. It does get much better.
Oh, maybe it was like something about like having to reduce her powers or something, because like I don't really remember. Maybe it had to do something with like her being confined somewhere, and then she was like, I think, like had to like have a lessons or like powerful abilities lessons. I can't exactly know. Like the place was inhibiting her or something.
All right, everybody ready?
She was
Here we go. Fast and Furious. I've been making this point in each class today. Today? Yes. Shh. Turn something in. We had this issue this week with everybody, but we got it figured out. Some students have an issue and then they don't turn something in each week, and then we miss the opportunity to talk about it on Wednesday, and then this just piles up. And hashtag real talk, those students usually don't end up finishing the class. It just ends up being too much stuff each week for someone to get caught back up after that. So I tend to be a very generous grader, ask the people who have been in this class before. If you got something that's like 90% of the way there and you had some sort of problem, your weekly presentation video is your chance to be like, well, I didn't get it quite there, but I had this problem. And then this is our opportunity when we play these videos back right now to be like, okay, it was this, this, and this. You were in this mode or something like that, whatever the problem was, right? And so, you know, something rather than nothing is the better way to go here. When you're turning stuff in, please try to keep up with the class, right? A lot of students who let things go just don't end up, actually making it through the whole class. The other issue is in OBS. I didn't cover this in my other OBS orientation, is that please put your name on your files. And the easiest way to do that in terms of the presentation videos, if you go to settings and go to advanced, over here, the thing I would write down in my notebook that's important to understand is that these are tokens. See everywhere it says %sign and then something? It's OBS generating a procedural file name based on year, month, date, hour, minute, second, right? And so this keeps you from saving two files with the same name or saving over the file then. But what I want you to do is prepend this or put something in front that is your name. That way, every time you make a new OBS video, it automatically has your name on it. You only have to do this once, and you don't have to spend the rest of the semester typing your name on each file and wasting a whole bunch of time, right? You just do it once, and it will always be there. This idea of tokens, this is not an OBS-specific idea. Like most programs have a way to make procedural parts of a file name so that you don't have to think about naming stuff. You can have it named based on the project or named based on other things. And so here, and again, that's in the advanced section of OBS. Cool. And because today will be a little bit challenging because some people didn't do that. And then we end up with file names like this. I'm not picking on whoever this is. There'll be some other ones there. But this is how it works. You know, like I pull all these down and then we play them. And then when I don't know who it is, we're like, who is this? And here we go. This is Alexis.
Hello everybody, here is my little scene here, and if I click it, does that, I tried to add like little squash and stretch just because
Right, so, right, we had this overlap this week. Technically this week you didn't need to do any squashing and stretching because what's due on Tuesday is the previous week's stuff. Is everybody clear on that? At the beginning here, it'll be a little gray, because we're like incrementally working on stuff and we only had one day of class last week, so I just tried to jam everything in and see what happened. And so now, of course, if you're working on stuff throughout the week, I recommend not working on it just on Tuesdays, especially as we start to do more stuff. But yeah, great. Great. Go. There we go.
stretch just because I just thought it looked cool. But I think the squash and stretch isn't like happening at the right time. But I can click it.
Is it? What do we think about the actual squash and stretch animation?
Everything's good.
No, not
It's
quite.
not right.
Okay. How?
It's not on the ground when it's squishy.
Yeah, we're not. You're not totally hitting the ground there. And the other thing is, it doesn't come to rest undeformed at the top at all. Would be something to look at there.
What I find easy is probably the editing part just because I'm used to that, and then like it's sort of like renders, so I feel like I took to it a little bit easier than I thought I would. Difficult. When I would open it, it had the packaging problem, and when I restarted my computer, finally, that's when it worked.
Okay, yeah, so problem one that everybody had, or at least a lot of people had, package errors, right? So the errors, like, even for me, I read some of the errors and I'm like, I don't know what this is, right? But you even in your early days of working with software development here, like take the time to read the error, right? Everyone now knows that like, oh, red error, bad, right? But those errors are in the code, right? Like in the code, it says if this goes wrong, send this as an error. And so they're written, hopefully, to give you a clue as to like what is going wrong. And so that can help in some instances. Anything that says package in Unity, restart. I posted this on Discord, restart computer. When I say restart computer, like turn it off, restart the whole thing. That's going to force you to restart Unity. And you may have noticed it takes like a second for Unity to get rolling, like maybe longer than other programs, because it's doing a bunch of like configuration, loading stuff, all this kind of thing. And for whatever reason that goes wrong when you open things the first time often, and if you just restart, it'll be fine. And those errors will go away. So that did work. I know KT said that, and anyone else get this one particular who's in here? Where you had the package error? You had that? Did you restart?
No, because when I read the log, it says it's not really going to affect.
Yeah, that's also the thing, is that like some of the package errors are not going to keep it from going into play mode, right? Okay.
And then obviously I was having the issue that others were having with the
Right. The other main issue we had is because I was using 2023 because they haven't updated this computer yet here at school. I didn't run into the thing that you guys ran into because you're on 6.3, because I told you to use the new version. And I really did think I tested this on 6.3. Maybe I tested it on 6.2 before class. And you ran into the thing where you needed to enable both input systems. Everybody was able to find this part of the menu in the project settings and then do the thing. We'll get into later what exactly you did and what this means. But for right now, you click the right drop-down menu. And yeah, I've tried to insulate you guys from as much of this kind of thing as possible by setting up a new project for you and everything. But in this case, one of them slipped through. But everybody did it. And special thanks to, who was it? Is it Jacob, Aaron's brother, who put up the initial fix on Discord? What?
It was Jacob.
Jacob, yeah. I don't know Jacob that well. His brother Aaron has been in a bunch of my other classes. But that was super useful.
the active input handling setting. So that worked for me. And yeah, I'm just super excited to use this. It's really cool. And yeah.
Awesome. Welcome, Alexis, and thank you. Here's Olympus.
Hello, so this is my first project. First of all, I'm not sure if it's a version issue with Unity and the script doesn't work with this version or what's going on. I can't get out of the idle loop. I see someone online is having the same issue. If I click play, just give it a second. Alright, the game is playing. I did not add the tints because it's too harsh for my eyes. But see, it's going in the idle loop. And nothing I do click, click, click. Nothing's happening.
Okay, so did you fix this later with the input thing?
Funnily enough, I've had the same issue in a different class last semester.
Uh-huh.
But I got a different error that told me that the input system is outdated. But
Uh-huh.
this time I didn't get the error, so I didn't think of checking the input system.
Yeah.
But I only saw the message on Discord the next morning.
Okay, yeah, that's fine. Like the, yeah.
But I know now. That.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, did you do, it's working like right now on there?
Oh no, I haven't changed it.
Okay, we'll change it and check to make sure we're good.
I did. The ball does have the animator, it does have the script, and it is on.
Yeah, so this is just all the thing. This is one of those really not great Unity problems where it wasn't throwing an error, it just wasn't working, right? This is why they put those error messages in the code, is so that if something doesn't work or goes wrong, it tells you something. But in this case, it was just that the input system wasn't there, so there was no code to actually throw the error. Okay, awesome. There's our Linkas. Whose is this? This is just bouncing ball. And let's see, this is somebody's. You guys did not think I was going to show them in the class?
I thought you were showing the introductions and not the bouncing ball.
Okay, no, so like every week, our presentation thing we do on Wednesdays. We used to show the introductions in the class. It like takes up a lot of time, so like that's why we put them on Discord this semester. Who is this? This is this KJ's? This is KJ's. Okay.
This is my bouncing ball.
Okay, and this gives us an opportunity to discuss microphone gain. Okay, so here, when you're recording in OBS, you want to be ideally here in the yellow, right? If it's in the yellow, then we're pretty good, and I'm not going to have to dial the volume up and down every time I hit play on somebody's video. So, a couple strategies. Number one, change microphone position. This is the number one thing you can do for better sound. Not dials or knobs or faders or anything. Move the microphone closer to your mouth, right? Or the source or whatever it is. That's the number one thing. Because there's been a bunch of students who have headsets with microphones that come down, and then they would dial them up to like the top of their head and then not pull them back down when they're recording. And so it would sound really low and also echoey and everything. So if you have one of those, dial it back down. And then number two you can do here is you can turn the knob. If your microphone or headset has a volume control, obviously turn that up until it gets into the yellow. Number three is you can add a gain effect in OBS. And so here's what that looks like. You can go to Audio, Filters, and then my gain is already there. If you hit plus, you can go to gain. And then here, you can adjust this up until you get into the yellow here when you're recording. If everybody's in the yellow, we shouldn't have to adjust volume at all when we're doing this. So keep that in mind. And so for right now, I'll just turn up. Yeah, so KJ says his microphone is at max, and so try the OBS trick. Because you have your microphone placed well in front of your mouth there, so that would be my advice.
Yay, it bounces. What I found easy was the animation part, because I took animation last semester and it was not too hard. Kind of learned basics of it, so I knew how to do this pretty quickly. Took me like a minute. And then the difficult part was probably, I would say, maybe the animator part. But again, that was also pretty easy to figure out, since I could just follow step by step through the video. Yeah.
Cool. Right. In the beginning here, there'll be a lot of me doing stuff step by step by step, and like, can you reproducing that? As we go on through the semester, there'll be less and less and less of that, and more of you applying all of those things, right? So keep that in mind, right? Like if you follow the video and get through it once, I would ask myself, like, could I do that again without the video, right? And maybe even try it, right? In terms of like, then you know you've internalized said information. Awesome. Very nice, KJ.
It's working now.
Okay, this is my animation for a ball bouncing. Okay, this is my animation for a ball bouncing. Let me try that again.
Okay, something happened there. Ezra, let's see. Okay, so build and run. Don't do that yet. We'll get to that eventually, but we just need to play this. So up here, somehow when you click that, the other thing went, your recording stopped. So this may have been one that you didn't mean to upload. You uploaded the wrong one. So go back and check that out. But it looks, we didn't quite see it animate there. If you get it happening, repost to that one. So I don't close any of the Canvas assignments. And if there's something that goes really wrong, I'll say like, just upload it again to there. Okay, you're on your way. Here's Punchy's.
Hi, this is Punchy. Here is my thing here. And as you can see, we clicked. It successfully works. I don't remember it being kind of like this delayed, but you know, works. Despite some like, you know, technicality issues that were like fortunately addressed with Unity's new system. It wasn't actually that hard to put together. All I had to do was just skim through the video provided, and then I could quickly plug in the pieces together. I would say that the most difficult part of it, other than me tearing out my hair and wondering why isn't this working because I didn't know the whole input system was different. I guess it's having to navigate through both these planes, where I have to, like, the scene is not combined with the game window, because I'm used to Roblox Studio, where basically the game and scene window, it's like there's not really a game window. It's more so like you just press F5 and then you just get put into the game, or you could just press F8 as a quick cut to test out scripts and physics and whatnot, but not actually being in the game necessarily. But yeah, no, I don't really have any questions, so.
Cool, great. Are you trying to make your computer look like from like?
Windows XP, yes.
Yes, okay. I like the pizza mouse. Yeah, I mean, the other thing you can do is, you know, you could dock this over here. That's not going to do it. These windows never behave. There we go. And so, you know, you'll see the scene, then we hit play, like, the game, like, covers up the scene, right? So, like, there's that. But the I haven't done anything in Roblox Studio, but as far as I know, one of the primary differences here is that here Unity is going to like recompile the code, which makes it like in some cases faster and more performant than I think in Roblox when you're doing that, you're kind of like in the game even though you're in the editor, like it's running at the same time. So there's that. But cool, that looks great. Here we go. Let's keep going. Who we got next?
This is my finished box animation, including the
Is Jaina?
ring when it's clicked on. It's quite magical.
Okay, one other audio thing here. When you look at this, you will only want to see the audio on 1 meter. If it's coming in on both meters, the name for that is phasing. That's why Jana sounds a little robotic here, right? The classic audio effect to make you sound like a robot is called a phase vocoder. And essentially you're doing a hacked version of that audio effect if you have it coming in on both channels. And so I think that's happening on yours there. Just turn one of them down.
Let's see. What I think I struggled the most with is probably the animation itself. I know that a lot of people were having issues with, making this work, but I had the most issues with the animation, just making it look good because I don't have a lot of experience. I have more questions about animating than I do about Unity. But yeah, I felt like I was pretty underprepared in terms of animation stuff. Everyone seemed to be pretty experienced with it, but yeah, I'll get it.
You're doing great. There's a wide range of people in the class, all right? So, like all of my other classes, it seems like the class is filled with perfectly friendly, welcoming people. And so please don't feel like you're overly behind here compared to everybody else. Okay? This is good, pretty good. And then the other issue here is that handing off the sphere with the proper anchor point is going to make the bouncing ball with squash and stretch a little bit easier. All right. And here we go with George.
Hello everyone, for my bouncing ball animation, this is my Unity scene. The keyframes are pretty much the same kind of thing that After Effects has, which is something that I've used pretty extensively in the past.
Yeah, the keyframes and graph editors are the same in all of the programs. Like the concept is just the concept.
So it was really hard to get the hang of. I guess this Unity is a lot more hands-on. There's a lot more of like computer stuff involved, and that's going to take some getting used to because a lot of programs like After Effects do a lot of the heavy lifting for you. But I think it won't be too difficult to learn how to do, and yeah, I'm excited to learn some more. So
great. Okay, thank you, George. What could George improve on his bouncing ball here? Yeah, Max.
Like pulling the handle so it's like a sharp drop going downward, I think is how it was.
Yeah.
So it's more of like
The problem is here, right? This is a curve at the bottom, and the curve is when we see a curve on the graph editor, it means that the ball is going to do what in this instance? Slow down as it gets closer to the ground. And as we discussed, that's not how gravity works, right? So yeah, going back and looking at how we did the curves, because we're going to end up with something, in this case, that conveniently looks like a bounce. That's not always the case that the graph editor looks like the thing you're doing up here, but yeah, that's the main animation part that you're missing. And yeah, there is a little bit more computer stuff to do here because ultimately we're going to make applications, right? And so that's just the price of admission, right? We want to make cool video games. We have to deal a little bit with software development, just a little bit. I mean, I try not to make the class about that. Cool. Here's Zoe. Zoe, if you're on a Mac, please put in a request to get a PC. Fritz is Zoe? No. You put in a Fritz. You put in a request. Yes.
My legal name is Zoe.
Okay. All right. I hadn't done. I don't know why they don't let you change. Do they? Have you tried to have the Canvas name adjusted?
No.
Okay.
I'm sure you can. I just haven't really.
Okay. All right. I'll make that connection. All right. Cool. All right. So you did put in a request. Okay. Awesome. All right. I just didn't do the name math there. Okay.
If it's all wonky, I don't know why. Because I did record that on PC. I had no idea.
Oh my god. OBS did not record out what I was saying, and I don't feel like re-recording, so I'm just doing this post, whatever. I'm using my brother's computer, and I don't understand what he's got set up, so I'm not gonna mess with it. I'm just doing whatever.
Did you compress the video or something, or?
I genuinely don't know what happened.
Okay.
It's my brother's PC, and I didn't feel like messing with his OBS settings.
Okay. It's fine. It's fine for the first week. It'll be cool. It'll be much easier once you have your own tool that you can use. The other thing that students have done in the past that's a great hack is, OBS isn't working, something, point your phone at the screen and record it that way. Like, that's a perfectly usable, because like you're gonna be able to record that easily. And so, especially if you're running OBS and like everything's slowing down, right? Because then you have a separate thing there. So that's a useful hack. Like, don't do that every week, but if you need to.
I'm getting my computer on Thursday, so it doesn't matter. Here's my ball. Yay. This wasn't really hard. The biggest problem was the problem that everyone had, where you had to go into the Unity settings and fix something. I don't know. That was hard because I would never have found that out if not for that one guy. Thank you, Twin. Anyway, that's kind of it. I don't really have any other. There's no other hurdles for me to jump. I think I'll probably have more problems in the future though, because I'm really, really good at like creating bugs. So like we'll see.
All right.
Oh my god.
It's working. It's great. Thank you. Here is Matt.
Alright, there we go. I added a gain filter, so hopefully my mic sounds a little bit better. It's still that same PlayStation 1. But anyway, here's my Unity. Click play.
Here, let me turn this up more.
Thanks to Jacob's video, we got this done. Oop, there we go. It's bouncing. I don't know. I guess that's what it does. Stop it here. Here's my call this one. The actions, Unity events. I don't know. Just follow the video. I guess this is probably what I found the most difficult. The actual, it's just plug and play with like the script that we already have in the assignment. But I guess I've just never even done anything like this. So this was probably the more difficult. Obviously, the easiest one was the actual animation of the ball. That one was pretty simple with squash and stretch, Yeah, I've done that like a gazillion times. So it's definitely the easier part, but yeah, this Unity event's gonna take some getting used to. Especially with all the random words and jargon. But I think it came out pretty good. Shows a kind of weird color here. Wanted to do, I don't know, some type of shiny chrome metallic thing. So yeah, that's mine. Not bad.
Okay, pretty good. It's stretching the whole time it's going up and down versus sort of like stretch to rest, stretch to down. I think is going to look a little bit more impactful when it hits the ground. And then also using the one with the better anchor point, which is in the next assignment. Cool.
Just real quick, what do you think about like the microphone?
I mean,
Is that sufficient?
like,
Because I know I said
it doesn't sound great. So you plugged it in.
I don't know.
I mean, you plugged it in. I don't know. It sounds a little bit better. It's still that same. It's not sure. It's I mean, it sounds like it is the microphone. Usually, if there's an issue there, I mean, first, just make sure in your audio settings down here that it is using the microphone and not like the built-in computer mic there. So just double check that part of it. And then, yeah, I mean, if it's an actual audio plug, there's no drivers to take care of there. You said you added the gain.
I did.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it sounds like it's like.
I don't know if it's just the headset. I've had that headset for like 5 years, so.
Yeah, I mean, I don't. I mean, was it originally like a PS4 headset?
I don't think they really classify them differently, honestly. It's just.
Yeah. Yeah, like the.
I mean, technically, yeah, I used it on my PS4, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, there's issues there. I mean, are you using a laptop or a desktop?
It's my laptop.
Yeah, most modern laptops are designed to take that TRS input in the audio, so that it actually has it there. If it's a laptop, just give it a shot using the laptop mic.
Okay.
See if that sounds any better. Because I mean, it'll definitely sound like you'll get some more of the room in there, but it probably will sound better than that. So give that a shot. Yeah. All right. Cool. People are doing well here.
Alright, hello AVC 200. Here is my bouncing ball project. Let's go ahead and go into play mode. And go ahead and click on the ball. And there he's bouncing. Alright, and then just because I have it here, I also made one with some squash and stretch because I was feeling a little bored and wanted to have fun in the animating part of this. So go ahead and click play there. And now you can see he's bouncing with a little more character. So yeah, as far as things that were easy, honestly animating in this is pretty easy because I'm kind of used to animating in 3D now due to, having used Blender before. Anything that I found difficult, probably trying to navigate the software and just like the different key mapping because it's a little different from Blender and it really messed me up trying to like remember how to work my hands when they've kind of been trained on something different. Any other questions about Unity? I guess just like how animating is going to work with more complex models and characters. Like, are you able to bring rigged models in and like manipulate those as need be versus just animating through moving and scaling the object, etc., etc. So yeah, I'd love any input on my project. I'd love any answers from y'all about any of that. And yeah, hope you enjoyed.
Yeah, it looks good. The keyframes of squash and stretch are compressed really close to the ground here. And I'm sure they look good when you're sort of working on them frame by frame. But when you play it back at full speed, I mean, it's like very, very quick
in 3D now.
Squash and stretching that's happening there. So maybe expanding that out a little bit. And then second, yeah, you can bring in animations from Blender. And that makes more sense when we do, like a character and stuff. But when you do the animation in Unity, then just means less going back and forth, which is just a little bit simpler here at the beginning. Awesome. Here is Nicole. Is Nicole?
And
There's Nicole. There we go.
My bouncing ball animation. It was pretty easy to understand how to add the script and stuff, and like how to make the animation as well. And I don't have any other questions about Unity, nor was it like difficult either.
Okay, good. Awesome. Well done, Nicole. Colette?
Okay, so here's my ball assignment that we did. As you can see, I have it right here, and then if I enter the play mode and click on it, and it bounces nice and smooth, and then yeah, that's it. It wasn't too hard, but I definitely struggled a little bit just because I couldn't figure out what was wrong with the code or some. I'm not sure what it was, but Jacob helped sent a video out, and
Yes, thank you, Jake.
I was able to fix it. So I'm really grateful for that. But it wasn't too bad. It was pretty simple other than that. So yeah.
Cool. Awesome. And here's Montana's.
Jacob really is a neat guy.
Hello. So I'm clicking on bouncing balls, so I'll put it in play mode real quick. If it'll load. There we go. So here it is, not doing anything, and when I click on it, it bounces. What I found easy about this assignment was just getting the ball to bounce, because I'm familiar with doing that, and getting the graph to where it looks like an actual bounce instead of just a ball floating up and down. What I found hard about this assignment was I found it confusing, like getting it in for the first time and setting it up. I had a lot of challenges with that, but once I actually got it in and everything, it was pretty straightforward after that. Yeah, that's really all I have to say.
Great. Okay, good. That's why we're using the same project this week, right? Once it's up and running, then like most of everything is in place there. Cool. Maya's.
Hello, here is my bouncing ball. Oh. Oh. Okay, it's good. I don't think it's laggy or anything, but the easiest part of this was navigating to the keyframes, and then I guess the hardest part was I guess setting the whole Unity up and trying to like navigate like everything. One question I have is, can I change the lagging part when editing my projects? If there's a way.
To do what now?
Like, can I fix like the lagging part when I'm editing my projects? Because every time I play it, it's like laggy.
Oh, on that computer, on the new computer, the school computer.
No, this is like my other computer.
That's your other computer, but you are getting one from school, yes or no?
Yeah, just in case.
Okay, yeah. I mean, that might be kind of slow. I mean, does that? Okay, so that's not the school machine. I thought that was a school machine, but you did you request one?
Yeah.
Okay, good. All right. Do you pick it up tomorrow?
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. Check that first. Open up, put the same thing on that one. See if it's laggy or not. If so, then it's the hardware, and then we know that. Yeah. So again, it's like software development, so there's that. But yeah, looks good. You got it happening. What's the shadows on the light, like we talked about on Monday? Did we talk about it on Monday? We talked about that on Monday, didn't we? Turning on shadows? Okay, all right. Cool. And
just wanted to quickly
Andre.
go over this week's assignment, which was last week's assignment, which was the ball, like making the ball move, which recently solved the issue that I was having before, which was that it was not moving when I was clicking on it. Let's just have it load in real quick. The process of which doing this and navigating Unity for the first time was actually pretty easy and much similar to Blender as I thought it would be, and the new concepts like the game controller were very easy to understand. As you can see, the ball is bouncing. So Very good, easy introduction. Just that small slip up where we didn't really know to turn on that setting because this is a legacy project. But yeah, that's my video for the video.
Cool. Awesome. Okay, I think that's everybody. Did we already do this one? I thought we did this one. This is... No, whose is this? This is... Oh, we have two Alexis. Okay, great.
Making the ball bounce up and down, the hardest part or confusing part was getting it to play, because I have it set up to where it'll bounce, but even if I click on it, the script it's not allowing me to play it, even though I have it set over on this side, and I have the animator and the...
Right, okay, so this is the thing everybody ran into and that we have fixed now. Okay. Awesome. Okay, great. So that portion of the class will be more exciting in the future when everyone starts doing their own stuff here, but that's what we have for now. Okay, good. And I think I've made it clear that, you know, even if things don't go great, show us what happened there, right? Okay, a little bit of review first. What is the thing that sends the message to the ball to play the animation, or this button to the ball to play the animation? A Unity. No. Event. Write that one down, right? Unity event essentially is just a do a thing now, right? You get to pick who does a thing and what thing they do. That's the nice part of using Unity events. Like, it's like this glue that you can configure in the editor in order to do things, right? So that's super useful. And we saw that the button is configured in a similar way. Also, just a few things, make sure you have in your notes, UI equals what? User interface, right? In Unity, all of the UI is in the canvas object, right? And ideally, you want just one canvas object, okay? One. And so, you know, you'll have your canvas as the parent, and then as children, there'll be things like the button, or perhaps some text and things like that. All that goes in the UI, and this is essentially, you know, on top of the environment. Everybody remember this from Monday? Yes. Okay, great. Let's look at a new concept here. Okay, we've got a thing we want to use here in the game. This has animation, it has interactivity, right? And not punchy. Why did we make the parent for the animated object? What do we run into if we didn't do that, Arlenka?
Otherwise, if you try to squash it, stretch it from its normal anchor point, it's just going to cross and stretch from the center.
Okay, that's an issue, but that's not this issue, right? Why? If we don't, the parenting object wasn't about changing the anchor point. You can do that, but you know, I'd rather have people just set the anchor point correctly. But when we have the anchor point, when we make the parent object, it puts the keyframes in what kind of space? Local space, relative to that parent, right? When I did that example on Monday, if I don't have this parent object here and I animate something and then I hit play, everything goes back to those original keyframes in world space there. Everybody with me on that one? Let me just do that one more time, because it's a little bit different than certainly, there's not the same kind of thing in the other programs. So for instance, I make some, what do we want to do? How about a cube? Sure. Here's a cube. I'm going to give it some kind of color. There we go. And I'm going to turn this other stuff off for a second. There we go. Here's our lonely cube. All right. And the cube does not have a parent, right? And so here, if I animate this, right? If I said animate this cube, you're like, okay, come over here to animation. I go ahead and I create a new animation. And then I tell this cube to do something. We'll call it cube something. And then I keyframe this cube doing stuff. There it goes. It's doing some more stuff. It's moving around. And then it comes back to the original position. There we go. And I've animated it. I can preview that animation. There it is, doing stuff. Looks good, right? And now if I hit play up here in the game, it will also continue to do stuff. That's good. What's the problem here? The problem is this. I'm like, I made this one cube. What I just did would be okay if you did not duplicate or move the object. If I never moved or duplicated the object after this, that would be fine. It would work. But we've all played video games, right? Things repeat, right? When you make these big environments, you have to make a thing that you reuse. And so this is almost never the case. You need to make a duplicate or move it to another place in the environment, right? And so if I were to do that here, and I duplicate this cube with a Control D, and then I move it over here, and then I'm like, okay, I'm making my cube world. I need one over here. Okay, right? Now, if I play the game, watch what happens. Did the other two cubes get deleted? No. How do I know that? Look at the objects. There are indeed 3 cubes, but where are they? They're all on top of each other, right? Because when I hit play, even though I moved the initial position of those cubes, the keyframes that I recorded, because there was no parent object, they were in world space, right? And so all of them collapsed back to that point, and they're all reading those animation files, okay? And so that is the reason that we set up this situation with our new really great squash and stretching bouncing ball, is that we animated here, and I used that command before we started animating to make that parent, right? Remember that command? Create empty parent. Very convenient. If you come up here and you hit plus, you can see it right there, right? It's critical to do before you start animating. Does that make sense now? Okay, good. It is slightly different than other situations, but when you understand why this is the case, I think it's clear, right? Just to be a little bit more obvious with this, if I create a cube here, and this is another irritating thing about Unity by default, this is kind of like relative to the camera. If you just say, make me a new cube, it's like, boom, it does it within your camera view. And so the actual coordinates of the object are, arbitrary here. And so coming over here and saying reset so that it goes back to 0, 0, 0, I do that almost all the time when I'm making a new thing. Everybody with me there? Okay, so there's that. So this cube is in I moved it up a little bit. Here, we'll move it to 1. Y equals 1, and then everything else is there. Let me turn on that light so we have some shadows. There we go. All right, so this cube is at 0, 1, 0. I'm going to go ahead and duplicate this cube, Control D, and then I'm going to move this one over to 2. There we go. And so this is important for understanding world space and local space. Right now, do either of these cubes have a parent? No, they do not, right? And so they are in world space. I'll also hear, you hear me go back and forth between world or global. World space and global space are the same thing, okay? But watch what happens when I take this cube, right? This is the one that's in the middle of the world, the origin, essentially. And I'll call this parent. And then I'll take this cube over here, and I'll call this child. And now, you guessed it, I'll make the child a child of the parent. But let's take note of the child coordinates. The child is at 2, 1, 0. And now if I make it a child of the parent, there we go. Let's go ahead and actually, in this case, I'm going to, before we do that, let's move them so that their number is actually different. I'm going to move this over there. Okay. And so the parent now is at -2. There we go. Parent's at -2x. The child is at 2x. I take the child and I make it a child. And now we can look at the child coordinates. They have changed. 4. So watch what happened here. If you understand this concept, then the rest of this really, really is easy. Let me make the parent a specific color. How about green? There we go. Green parent, white child. Okay? So, blue child. That's a little bit better. Or pink. We'll go pink child. Okay. So green parent, pink child, right? They're in 2 spots. This is -2, this is 2. If I take this child and actually drag it on and let go to make it a child, it goes to 4. Did it actually move? No. Okay? So why is it 4? Why did the number change? Yes, this is right down in your notes in big letters. Child coordinates are relative to the parent. And this is true the whole way down the chain. This is essentially the issue that we're running up against with the animations example I just did. Is that we didn't have anything to be relative to, and so we were just in world space. Everybody get this concept? The only bad news here is that for those of you familiar with Blender, Blender doesn't do this sort of like by default. They don't change the numbers in the same way. But a lot of people usually are not diving in that deep. And then just to be clear of the parent-child relationship, did we do a little bit of this last time? Right, if I rotate the parent, the child now comes along for the ride. And also if I do anything to the parent, transform-wise. If I scale it, it scales with the parent. If I grab the child by itself and I do something to it, nothing happens to the parent. This axis here, the gizmo, somebody who's not punchy, is this in world space, world alignment, or local alignment? The gizmo.
World.
How did you know?
Because it's not, like, if you look at the arrows and the lines to the box, and if you're going to try and rotate it, you're going to notice that the box isn't rotating.
Yep. And so here, how do we adjust this? It's not a problem. It just depends what you want to do. Do I want to move this cube straight up? If so, I want global alignment. Do I want to move this cube up according to the cube. Then I come over to here, global, and switch it to local. See how the axis changed? Watch the axis. Global, local, global, local, right? And so now moving it directly up or to the side makes a lot more sense there. So those two are really important. And then also over here, you want this set to pivot. Check out your Unity installation right now. If this is not set to pivot, set it to pivot, right? Rather than center. Pivot is at the actual pivot point of the mesh. Okay, makes sense so far. Good. Let's learn one more new concept here. Like I said, game made of objects. We want to all the time reuse those objects. Everyone is implicitly experienced this in games, right? Where like the enemies, a lot of times enemies look like different color versions of the same thing, right? This is both an artistic strategy in that it provides some sort of like visual consistency to the language. And then it's also like just a getting stuff done, an efficiency strategy in that like you don't have to make a new thing. You can just change the color on the existing thing, right? And in Unity, we have this idea here of objects we're going to reuse, and these are called prefabs. Prefabs are a special type of game object in that they are saved as an asset. And if you change the original, all the copies change. So something like a forest, right? You make a prefab of a tree. The tree has green leaves. And then your client comes back and they're like, we love it, but we want all the trees to have orange leaves. If you've made the tree a prefab, then you can go in, change the original prefab, and all of the trees in the game change to orange rather than green. So we're going to make a prefab out of our interactive bouncing ball. So here it is, there we go. And how do I make drag? So it's like the opposite of putting something in the game. In order to take something and make it a prefab, you usually make a game object and configure it and put a bunch of junk on it and components and stuff. And then you drag from the game objects to the assets. Essentially, it's like saving it. You're going to take this configuration of game objects and turn it into a file, a piece of data that can be referenced. So, for instance, here we have this bouncing ball. Where is this one? There we go. It's right here in the middle. And let's just double check and make sure it works. There we go. Very squishy. I like it. Okay, so I want to turn it into a prefab. I'm going to come down here to my assets, and first I'm going to make a folder named prefabs. Then I'm going to double click on that folder. And now I am going to grab the parent, the top of the hierarchy, and drag that from here to here and let go. And boom, now it has become a prefab. And check this out. This is the visual language of prefabs in Unity. It is a blue box. So something that's a prefab has that blue box in it. Now, if I want to make more bouncing balls, in this case, that's, you know, like a template for the whole thing. And I can just make more of them by just dragging them into the game, however I would want them to be in here. And now if I hit play, all of these are smart copies.
Can you edit prefabs?
Yes, very good question.
Like if you made modifications to like prefabs, like, oh, I want to add this sound whenever I click the ball.
Yeah.
Do you just drag it down there, or would it name it as like, oh, bounce parent like 0, 1 or something?
Well, I'm glad you asked that question, Punchy. Allow me to elaborate on how to edit prefabs, because that's exactly what we were getting to. I didn't tell him to ask me that before class. Let me show you. There's a couple of different ways to edit prefabs. I think the easiest one is that if you double click on the prefab itself, watch what happens. Well, nothing in that case. Double click down here. There we go. So you double click down here in the assets, and see how all the other stuff went away? This tends to cause heart attacks sometimes at the beginning. Your stuff is not gone. You have entered prefab edit mode, okay? And so it's essentially just isolated the prefab so that you can work on it. And any of these changes that you make right now will propagate to the other prefabs. So, for instance, I've got the prefab here, and I'll do the easy thing and change the color of it over here from pink to green. And you see it changed here and then propagated to all of the other stuff there, right? Let's say I want to do more than that. I want to make like a platform that this squishy ball squishes on. And so over here in just prefab edit mode, because prefabs can be multi-part things, I'll say create a new cube. There we go. And bring this down. And then I will edit it a little bit. I don't know why it is doing this thing with the menu. Anyway, let's squish it a little bit that way, and then maybe make this 2 and 2, or no, not that direction. How about over here? And boom. See what has happened there? That is propagated to all of the other instances in the game. That's what these are. For those of you familiar with this in Blender, prefabs are kind of like instances, right? This is the name for this kind of structure in Blender, where if you change the original, you change all the copies. And then I could put something on there, and when I come back, boom. Now those are all there. If I hit play, they've all been updated. So is this making sense to everybody? Like, see how this would be a super valuable strategy for making games, right? Cool. Let's make this a little bit more fun. I think, I'm not sure if this is going to work for me, but it should work for you guys. Let's see. I'm going to make one more new material by control dragging the material. And let's call this glow. And I'm going to throw this onto, I'm going to go back into prefab edit mode by selecting the prefab asset and double clicking. And come over here to this thing, the actual squishy ball, and I'm going to put that material on the ball. And then I'm going to select the glow material. And down here under, we did color, metallic, smoothness, emission. Means it's going to light up, right? And so if we click that box, and then we click the color here, and we turn up the intensity of this, and make sure it's not black. Some other, give it a second. There we go. And there we go. And it doesn't look super glowy on mine because I'm going to have to do something. When you guys do this on 6.3, there should already... Who has this open? Do you have it open? Do you have it open right now on your computer that you're on right there?
Do I have Unity open?
Yeah.
No, I don't have that.
Okay, do you have it open? No, okay. Anybody? Bueller? You guys even know what I'm referencing when I say that?
Not really, sorry.
Ferris Bueller's Day Off. It's a movie. So turning this up, a couple things here. So emission, in the emission color picker, what do you notice is different about the color picker here versus here?
One is full base color, the other one is for emission.
Okay.
I think the base color is going to change the physical color of the object. Changing the emission is going to change the glow.
Yeah, the light up color. And then notice the light up one has these three letters, HDR. What does HDR stand for? High dynamic range. Put that in your notes. A lot of times people get high definition and high dynamic range confused here at the beginning. High definition is something that refers to the number of pixels on the screen. High dynamic range has to do with brightness, not the number of pixels, just how bright those pixels are either in the system or also the actual hardware of the television or the screen or the display. So that's why notice the color picker is different. The HDR color picker has this intensity number, whereas the regular base color picker number does not. See that? And so things that light up are going to have this HDR, things that are going to have the emission output. So when you crank this up in your 6.3 scene, this should look a little bit glowier. In my scene right here, because I'm on the older version. Oh no, I'm good. There they are. Like I cranked it up and it is obnoxiously glowy. I need to check a box over here. If yours is the same, which I don't think it is, see, this is one instance where we have the opposite of what we would want in most cases, where this effect is showing up in the scene, but not in the game, which is, ultimately useless because the player will never see this because it is the editor. And so in the camp, but I believe in 6.3, once you guys just crank up the emission, you'll see it happening. I need to check a box, the box that says post-processing. And boom, there we go. Now that is also bright. And so let's go back to the glow material and under HDR and dial down this intensity. So you can see how the emission channel works here, right? It's as if the object itself is emitting light, but it's important to understand it's not going to emit light onto other stuff. It's just lighting itself, okay? In order to light other things, you need to actually create light objects, right? The point light, we discussed those on Monday, right? The point light and the...
Yeah, we discussed them and then talk about the shadows.
Good, okay, good. These are not lights, they just look like it, right? And you can give them a tint, right? And this is really cool. I mean, you immediately get like the lightsaber kind of look here, right? What makes it look like a lightsaber? The fact that the inner part is blown out, right? Something that's so bright, it's too bright for the camera. It registers it as just all white. So I keep getting this inconvenient error there. And then your HDR color picker also looks super cool when that happens, right? And so there we've got glowy, squishy, interactive spheres. Look at that. Stay calm.
That would make a cool rhythm game, actually.
It would be cool if they glue glowed when they were flipped.
Yeah.
And they, slowly...
I don't think glue is a word. Well, I mean, it's a different word, but like... What were you going to say? If they glow...
If they glowed once you click them and they slowly kind of fade away.
Oh, okay. So... Yes. I mean, we can animate, we've animated the positions. We can animate other stuff. So this is, again, all of these are reading the same animation data. So let's go into our prefab. Prefabs. Here, I'm going to double click to go prefab edit mode. I'm going to then select the sphere, go to animation. There we go. Okay, and so now what do we want to animate? We want to animate the material brightness. And so we unfold down here. We turn on recording, which is probably the easiest way to do it. And then if we just change this value, there we go. Now it shows up down here in our edit. And so here we are squishing. And so we could do this. At the beginning here, we'll dial down the intensity to 0. Then we'll move forward in time and we'll dial up the intensity to something bright. And then notice that it's recording, and then we'll dial down the intensity back down to 0. There we go. And so I've got those 3 keyframes there. Cool. Let's see how that works. Let's turn that off. I did it in the prefab, so it all goes back. Should be good. Come back to here. Let's hit play. I think it'll happen in play mode because we didn't change the default value. Or perhaps. I think it's adding it. So let's just make sure over here that our glow value, our default, there we go. Now, yeah, maybe a little strong. So over here, let's get one more time, head back to prefab edit.
Probably add an epilepsy warning.
And come over to the second keyframe. Make sure, I'm going to edit the value. So I'm going to turn this on, recording, move the playhead exactly to that one, and then come down here and turn this down to something a little bit less obnoxious. And then move that back and hit play. There we go. That is much more tasteful. I want them to be a little bit shinier. So come in and adjust that material one more time. There we go. Awesome. Okay, prefabs. Make sense? Okay, the other thing that we can do here is once you've instantiated these prefabs, they do read from the parent, but they can get their own variation. And so, for instance, if I were to change the material on one of them, there we go. And I hit play. That one will maintain its own identity if I don't go in and update all of them, right? And so this gives you like the maximum flexibility. You can use the core update to update everything, or you can make some variation between them there with all of these.
Should we try to update the prefab again? That, like the one that you colored blue, won't get updated?
I think it would, unless we told it. If you can opt, if we wanted this one to permanently stay like that, we could opt out of it being a prefab. How do we do that? You would right click, let me move the menu. You would right click and say you got to go one menu deep. So right click, prefab, unpack, right? So if you unpack it, then it will stop being a prefab and regain its identity as an independent game object, right? So I'll do that with this one. Right click, prefab, unpack. There we go. And now you see it lost the blue thing there. Now it's its own thing. If I were to go in and change the original prefab, it should not update. And so I'll change the color of this. There we go. Yeah. And that one remains its own. Make sense? Okay. Super useful way to go about implementing all that. Let's do a couple other things which will be fun. Let's make some new things. So I'm going to turn the canvas back on. There we go. And let's do some physicsy stuff. So here we used our button before to make all of them bounce, which is kind of redundant, so let's do something different with it. Let's make this button, instead of bouncing, we're going to make it spawn things. So I'm changing the name or the text on the button here, and then we'll change its functionality. We'll need one more script for this, and so this one here, downloads here, the appropriately named spawn single object, right? And so we're still gonna, we need to send this an event. So I'm gonna go ahead and make a new my gosh, this menu thing is irritating. I'm gonna make a new empty game object, right? Essentially just a transform. It just allows me to store a location. And so I say create new empty. And there we go. I've got this, and I'm going to call this spawner. And it will spawn stuff. And I'm going to move it up. There we go. And I'm going to apply the spawn script. There we go. And you see it has the appropriately named prefab to spawn, right? And so when I hit this, I want cubes to fall out of the sky and land on the ground. So first we need to make a prefab of a cube that falls down. So I'm going to make a new cube here. There we go. Let's move this so I can see it. Or I'm going to reset it. There we go. Then move it up. There we go. And then feel free to check your notes, not Punchy or Arlinka. What do I need to add to this cube to make it fall down and have physics? Feel free to check your notes. That's why it's in your notes, right? It's a type of body.
Rigid body?
There you go, rigid body, yes, right? Rigid body is how we opt into physics. And so if I put this on here, we've got the two pieces of the recipe for physics, rigid body and collider. Let's test this cube, right? We're not going to spawn it yet. I just need to know, is this going to fall? Yes, it falls. Great. That's good. The other thing didn't move it. We'll get to that in a little while. But it works as a falling cube. And so now I'm going to rename this cube falling cube. I'm going to give it some sort of visually distinct material. Let's make it sort of metallic. And so I'll name this metal. There we go. I'll bring in, put it on there like that. Make it very metallic. Make it smooth. There we go. Maybe give it a little darker. All right, that's good. And then I need to make it a prefab. So I'll go to prefabs. I'll take my falling cube and drag it down here. Cool. Okay. Now, let's come back to the spawner. It's just a blank game object that has my spawn single object script. Okay. And so I want this button to talk to this script. What is the thing that's going to make that happen? Unity event, right? So I need to go to my button. Down here, this is the stuff that happens when I click the button. This was when we made all the other balls bounce. I don't want to do any of that anymore. That was boring. Now I want to spawn stuff. And so which object, not Punchy, I'm banning you from answering in order to get the answers from everybody else, right? So it's a good thing when you get banned from answering. So who do I want to talk to? What? Do I want to talk to the cube? This is the button. The button's going to talk to itself? What was the other thing? What's the thing that's going to make things? The spawner, right? The spawner has the script that spawns stuff. And so that's who I need to talk to. So again, select the button and drag. So you can drag from here over to here. I would encourage you not to do that. It's easier to just click this little target thing, and then you have all of the stuff that's in your scene if you look at the scene tab, and then you can search for spawner, and there it is. There's my spawner. So there it is. That's who I'm talking to. Okay. And so now this, what is in this list up here, right? So that's the spawner. What are all of these things? They are components, right? The components that show up on the spawner game object. And so the options from that drop-down menu are going to be based on whatever components are there. And so Punchy, which one of these do you think I want to talk to?
Spawn single object.
Exactly, right? So I go to spawn single object, and in this one, should be the appropriately named spawn single prefab. That's the name of the function, right? The function is like the verb. There we go. This one doesn't have any options here because they are defined in the script here, right? We can tell it what thing we want to spawn. And so, what thing do we want to spawn? Maya. We want to spawn the cube, exactly. So I'm going to drag the cube from here to here. Okay, so far so good. And let's hit play. Well, let's save first, then we'll hit play. And then, let's see. We're good. We have the spawner. We have the button. The button's talking to the thing. Are we getting any errors? No. Here, spawn single object, spawn prefab. That all looks fine. This looks fine. That looks good. On click. Where is the spawner? Is it in a weird place? There it is. Let's make sure the prefab's okay. That looks fine. Both of those fell. That's good. Ugh, irritating. I think everything is where we need it to be. I'm just trying to think if there's anything. Just gonna check this once. Where do we put this here? There we go. Why wasn't our button sending it? It had to do with our button. It's just the button isn't sending the event. I'm just trying to think why that is the case. I think it has something to do with why we're not seeing this. Because this is sending our event. Every time I click on this guy, we have our event happening, no problem. And we can spawn more and more and more boxes. Something with our button. We're gonna eject the button for the time being. So let's get rid of this button. Let's make the cube the thing that spawns. So I'll put a cube here. There we go. And let's reset it. And let's move it. I'm going to put our click script on it. There we go. And let's make it actually this color. I'll take the spawner, move it down. I'm going to get rid of these two. And talk to the spawner and add this. And there we go. Let's see. So with the spawner here, when you put the same, it's spawning the same object and it's in the same place as that cube there. And so we have two cubes in the same place at the same time. And that means that they blow up, like we talked about last time with the physics. The other issue here that we'll have to address eventually is it's possible to just keep making more and more objects. When they're on top of each other, they blow up like that. If you were to move the spawner up into the sky and then click on the cube, now they sort of rain down into your scene.
I thought this is an animation class and not a class in cubism.
Okay, so here's the flow we have. We're not going to worry about the button there for now. We've got our cube. It's got the collider, and it's got the on-click script. The cube talks to the Unity event, because that's the on-click, right? And that is talking to the spawner. And that spawns the prefab, which is the cube with, what's the thing that makes it fall? Write it down this time. Rigid body. There you go. So we got raining cube prefabs. We've got let's do the same thing, but we'll have one that makes cylinders. So what do we need to actually duplicate here? We need a cylinder. Let's bring this forward. I think we need another color. I'm going to control drag this. There we go. And let's make this one purple. Is that the color you wanted? Yeah. Okay, good. There we go. More purpley. There we go. And shinier. There we go. And this is going on here. Okay. So this is going to allow us to make more purple cylinders. So we've got this one. This one is essentially going to be our, button. And so in order to send a message when somebody clicks on it, it needs which script? On click. Why all of a sudden does not come up in the search? We'll do it this way. We'll put it on there. There we go. We have our on click. Okay, and then we need another spawner. I'm going to take the spawner we have and just duplicate it. So I'm going to take it and move it down so they don't have to fall quite as far. And move this one over. So let's go here and we'll Control D it and move it over. But then over here we need to change this prefab so that it's doing something different, right? And also for the sake of clarity, I'm going to call this a cylinder spawner. Now I've got more of them. And we need a cylinder prefab. I'm going to make it a little bit smaller. We want these to fall. I'm going to give it the rigid body. We want them to have that color. and name them. Awesome. And let's make sure they fall to avoid the Big Bang. Just see if this guy falls or not. It does. Great. Mission accomplished. We need to make it a prefab. How do I make it a prefab? It's a game object right now, and I want it to be a prefab. What's that? I don't think... No.
Oh no, you just drag it to the prefab.
That's right. You drag it from here down to your prefab folder, right? And so there we go. Here, we've got the falling cylinder now. And on the cylinder spawner, do we want it to spawn falling cubes? No. We want it to spawn falling cylinders, right? And so now, let's just double check. We've got our cylinder that we click on. It's got our script. We need to talk to the cylinder spawner and tell it to spawn. And then we check the cylinder spawner, and it is indeed spawning cylinders. And so there we go. Let's see what we got. Ta-da! Awesome. Okay, we got two different types of things. So okay, again, right? The event is the thing that kicks it off. The event talks to the spawner, which has the spawn script on it, right? And then that just makes copies of whatever prefab you put into that slot where you're told to make more things, right? And we made it make more cubes, we had to make more cylinders, whatever it is that we wanted to spawn, it spawns those things in there. The event can come from anywhere. It's not working to come from the button for whatever reason. The button was working before with the animation. I don't know why the button would stop working to send this note over here, because it's clearly receiving events. I'll see if it's a problem in 6.3. Cool. Okay, let's look at our scene. So I'm going to move this a little bit over. There we go. All right. So we've got our interactive, glowing, bouncing ball. We can make more of these. We can make more of these. Yeah, the thing where they all fall exactly on top of each other. But then they fall over if just there's a little bit of randomness there. But you can see how much mileage you can get out of the physics stuff here in terms of all that working. So we have our animation strategies. We can either animate with keyframes, or we can use the physics, or what if we wanted the keyframed objects to affect physics objects? Let's do it. I want a spinning thing. So let's make a super simple, like, spinning carousel kind of thing. I'm going to go ahead and make a let's start with a cube. I'll move this over. And we're going to make this a little bit bigger. So make it a little bit taller in this direction. I'm going to Control D it. and move it over. Maybe make this one a little bit shorter. There we go. Move this up, kind of like this. And let's make another one. So I'll Control D and move this down. Okay, I've got this. And so what I want to have happen here is I want this to spin around as one thing, right? So you guys tell me, what's step one here? How do I get these parts to move with this part once I start keyframing? Exactly. So here and here, let's get both of them and put them underneath here. There we go. I'm going to change the name of this to wheel. And now I've got that. I'm going to animate this, but I want it to be a flexible piece of a flexible, reusable thing that I can, use in the scene. So what do I need to do before I start animating?
You need to set an empty parent.
Exactly. Set empty parent for sure. And so now let's move this stuff out of the way a little bit. I'm going to grab this and set up here and say create empty parent. There we go. And that should be there. And so I'm going to call this wheel parent. There we go. And now these keyframes are going to be relative to that, which should be usable. So I'm going to come up to animations, make sure that that's selected, not select the parent, right? Which of these things do I want to select to actually animate? Where should the animator go? Yes, on the wheel, right? Why? Because we don't want the keyframes up here at the top, hence the whole global space thing. Remember that? Yeah? Okay. So here, we have that selected. And we come over here, and we say create animation. Boom. And this will be simple spin. Cool. And let's just add some pretty standard keyframes. So under rotation here, we want to be spinning, on this axis. And so let's put it at 0. Let's move forward in time. Yeah, it's on. And then I'm going to put D. There we go. And so now if I were to move the playhead, that is spinning. If we look at it, it's spinning. There's a couple things here. One, it's too fast, right? And then two, it kind of stops each time. Why does it stop each time? Let me show you this. And now, why does it stop each time? What's that? Yeah, because of the curves, right? It's slowing down into that top position. In this case, if we want something like a windmill or any sort of thing going at a constant speed, we need to switch that to linear. And so in here, I'm going to select both of these keyframes, like so. Right click and go to both linear. Boom. Now if I hit play, spins at a constant rate. Okay, that's part of the battle. It's still too fast. How do I change that? Well, unfortunately, I wish you could do that here, but you have to come over to your animator and select the actual animation clip in the animator. If you select that, there is a speed component, speed parameter. And so I'm going to put that, 1 is the speed that you put in there. 2 is going to be faster. So if you hit play, you'll see it'll spin faster. And less than 1 is going to be slower. So I'm going to put it at like 0.2. What's that? Yeah, if we wanted to like push those things around, let's get it aligned. So let's look at it from the top. Let's look at it in orthographic mode. Let's select the spawner. Let's do some housekeeping. So this first spawner is actually now more accurately the cube spawner. So just to know what everything is. Not S cube, just cube. There we go. And so let's move this over this way. Let's take the other one, the cylinder spawner, sort of move this on top so it's over there. Let's move this in so that we can see it. Perhaps make this button a little bit smaller, 0.5, 0.5, 0.5. There we go. Move it down a little bit. There we go. And now let's see how we're doing. And so over here, if I make more of these things, we've got physics animation interacting with keyframed animation. And I can make cubes, or I can make the cylinders, and they both get sort of swept out of the way by the sweeper. The sweeper we did correctly, right? And let's say I want to have multiple sweepers. What do I want to do to the sweeper? Exactly. Prefab over here. Go to prefabs, drag this down here, and now I could make many of these here and here to start to get, emergent stuff, right? What's going to happen when all these things fall onto all these spinning things? Like, I'm not exactly sure here. We'll see in a minute. Cool. Okay, so something like this where we need some more view. Let's do a little bit more cleanup here under main camera. One of the main issues is field of view for the camera. So we can widen that, or go ahead and check your notes. What's the shortcut to move the camera to the view, to the scene view? Control-Shift-F. Everyone has that one written down, right? But for Control-Shift-F, you need to have the camera selected, okay? Control-Shift-F will move whatever you have selected to the view, right? But it's only useful for the camera. So I'm moving I want more of an isometric view here to see all this craziness happen. So up here, and then have the camera selected, Control-Shift-F, there we go. Now I've got a better view of what's happening. I don't want to see the edge of the thing because that looks kind of lame. So I want to maybe zoom in a little bit with the field of view on the camera. And there we go. And now I'm going to save, and I'm going to come up here to play focused. And something you can do when you really just want to see how things are working is you can switch from play focused to play maximized. And now when I go into play mode, it will just make this like full screen. So you can, the rest of the stuff's out of the way so you can see how everything is indeed working here. Awesome. Let's check out the prefab, the wheel prefab here once. I'm going to double click on that. Come over here. And yeah, that's working for now. We'll leave it at that without making it more complex. But simple parts, right? Like you can do a lot of stuff here putting these parts together. The name for this, modular design. The ubiquitous example for this is, what is a popular modular toy that people make a lot of different things with? Exactly. Right? We can not only, right, the code I hand off to you guys, I try to make like this, where for the most part, it's like a smaller piece of code that just does this one thing. It's like one brick, but you can attach it to other stuff, right? What is the attachment here? It is, Unity events. That's what allows you to attach functionality to whatever object you want to do stuff there, right? So now, for instance, if we wanted something else to happen here, we've got our animation, we've got this, we've got these things spinning. We wanted to turn these on or off. I mean, we're pretty close here. Let's see. Let's just, spawning stuff. Let me mention this because this is confusing. Okay, so here, a little bit more about the spawning. Okay, here's a cylinder. It is in the game right now, right? It is this. I'll just select it. It is this game object, falling cylinder, okay? It is a prefab, but it is a game object, right? Okay, so if I went to the cylinder making button, which is a cylinder, and I told it, it's talking to the cylinder spawner. And what do I want to spawn? I want to spawn this falling cylinder, like so, okay? And if I went and hit play, you'll see that it'll work. Let me get out of maximized because I need to do something. It's going to go ahead and hit play. I'll just say focused. Okay, so now if I hit play, that's working. But watch what happens. If I take the falling cylinder, the original one, and I delete it from the game, first of all, it's not permanently gone. Why? What mode am I in? Game. I'm playing in game mode, right? And so changes, when I stop playing, it'll come back, right? But now if I click on this, no cylinders. Why? Because the spawner is referencing that object I just deleted. Make sense? Okay, so the moral of the story here, which you should write down in your notes, always put a prefab from your assets in the spawner, right? Not from the game. The game stuff can be created and destroyed. The assets, right? We discussed this before. The assets at the bottom, I said specifically, don't delete those because that's for real. You're deleting a file. And during the game, assets are not deleted and added. That's not a thing, right? The game objects are managed. And so now, right, just to reiterate this one more time, the reason this is not working is because the cylinder spawner is referencing this falling cylinder, like this one right here. And so if I delete that one during the game and try and spawn more stuff, the spawner is getting the message to spawn, but it goes and looks for the object. It's not there and it doesn't do anything. I can fix this by going to the cylinder spawner and telling it this field here, I'm going to drag from here into there. I wish that they did a better job of making this like visually different. Like you obviously have the asset up here because this will look the same. But now if we do it and I do the same thing again, we're spawning and then I'll delete the original just like I did before. And then I'll start doing it again. It still works. Why does it still work? Because we are referencing the asset. And the asset is not deleted. You can't delete an asset during the game, right? It's like a file on the computer. A game object is just a instance of that in the game. Does that make sense for everybody? So it's confusing because, you know, like this looks exactly the same as that. But if you understand the difference between game objects and assets, it makes sense, right? Because these can be made and destroyed. These over here go away after time. So with that in mind, let's add one more wrinkle here. The other issue here is, yeah, we now know about spawning. And so in the Unity documentation, the word you should write down is instantiate. That's the word, the actual code command that's happening. You instantiate an instance of a prefab. And now this is a cool thing to do, but we're thoroughly into the Spider-Man territory here. You have great power, comes great responsibility. Everyone knew that, right? You guys have seen a Spider-Man movie, right? Yeah. That's Spider-Man's thing. His uncle gets killed, and that's how he learns to be a superhero. There's no less than 4 movies that address this directly. So, Spider-Man's my favorite, so there'll be a lot of Spider-Man examples. Anyways, you now have great power, and with it comes great responsibility. And the great responsibility here is not to make too many prefabs, okay? Because this is eventually something that could like cause this game to crash, right? If you just kept clicking this button, like I'm not going to be able, this particular instance is not going to get there, right? But in a game, you can't have an enemy spawner just continuously spewing out enemies, right? Because eventually there's going to be too many enemies. The computer has limited resources. You're not going to be able, you know, at some point it'll start to slow down, and then at another point it will just crash or freeze, right? And so what kind of strategy could we do to alleviate this? This is going better than I thought here in terms of like how many we have so far.
What you're going to do is like delete ones that existed for too long so that it would free up some storage.
Exactly. We now need to give them lifetimes so that we can spawn them, but eventually, even if nothing else happens, they'll go away, right? They'll die. So that we don't have this. Right, I'm scrolling through the game object window over here, which is now really long. What's that?
You may need an auto clicker.
But really nice, like emergent stuff happening, right? We get the piles of things. We've got our other stuff is still working over here. Great. Okay, so the other script here, which does exactly what Punchy was talking about, is the appropriately named time destroy, which destroys something after a specific amount of time. And where does this script go? Yeah, onto the prefab, right? It essentially cleans itself up. And so let's go to the prefab menu. Let's go to the falling cylinder. Double click to go into prefab mode. Select the cylinder and drag on time destroy, which randomly kills something between 10 and 12 seconds, right? So it gives you this random range. A lot of the scripts we've used up until now are the super simple version. In all the versions we'll get in the coming weeks, many parameters are set up like this, right? Just to give it more variety. Instead of saying like everything dies after 5 seconds, it's going to be much more interesting and naturalistic to say like, 5 to 10 seconds, like, and they'll all be kind of different. Let's make it shorter so we don't have to wait so long for the example. We'll say 2 to 4 seconds. And I'm in prefab edit mode, so that's going out to all of the prefabs. And so now if I hit play on this, and I start to make these things, let's see. There they are. They're cleaning themselves up. The cubes do not have that on them yet. And so the cubes over here, I could just keep making more and more and more cubes. But these will clean themselves up after a while, right? And so the cube, same thing. So you can go to prefab. Here, let's go to falling cube. There we go. And give it the time destroy, and maybe like 4 to 5 seconds. And now let's test it. Again, trying to avoid the big bang, right? Doing one thing and testing it. Yeah, and there they go. They're cleaning themselves up now. So, part of making interactive stuff is that people get to interact with it. They get to make choices, right? And yeah, I mean, as someone who's made a lot of interactive stuff, like, people are continuously surprising in this regard, in terms of like, there's been many things I've made that I've shown to people, and the first thing they do is like either something I didn't want them to do or something that broke it, because like people do unexpected things, even though you're designing in a specific way. Turns out they do something else. You can't design, it's very difficult to design something that's like totally foolproof, right? Like unbreakable, right? Even really great games. There's video after video after video online of people finding glitches and whatever, and game after game after game, right? And those are games that are tested by like hundreds of people. And, there's a big process there. And this class is not about you making stuff that's like, totally unbreakable, right? It's much more about you making interesting stuff. And but one of the low-hanging fruit you can do here is making sure your game just doesn't, grow into some sort of massive problem on the computer and then crash itself. And one way you can do that is just by doing this, making sure that things clean themselves up after some amount of time. So does this make sense here? The reasoning and the execution of what's going on, right? So the time destroy went on to the prefabs. Remember, the spawners themselves go to the spawners themselves. You want to reference the actual prefabs, dragging from down here, not over here, like we just discussed. You've got your much better bouncing ball here. Okay, what if I had one more thing here? No, that's good. That's good. I like where this is at this point. We covered a lot of stuff. Yeah.
I have a question about time destroy. It's mostly just optics, though. Is there like an animation you could tie to, I guess, the Unity event to like
Yeah. In the future, when we do this kind of thing, time destroy. There'd be an event that triggers an animation and then hits some other thing that happens on a delay that takes care of that. So we have that. Good. Okay, I feel like we covered a lot of stuff, right? And all this is like fundamental concepts. Just to review here, the difference between game objects and assets and prefabs are kind of, they're stored as assets, but then you instantiate them as game objects, right? And prefabs, they are smart copies. So if you change the original, the duplicates change. And I think everybody's clear on why that's useful, right? We animated 2 different ways. We set keyframes, and we also used physics, and then we made those things interact with each other, right? So that was good. When we animated, we needed to make a blank parent. Everybody's clear on why that's necessary here, right? To avoid this issue because we want it to be in local space. We added materials, and we looked at the basic material stuff here in terms of color, metallicness, roughness, and then what was the last one we just did? Emission, right? So that we have glowy stuff. We've got our camera in place. We worked a lot on the squash and stretch, right? And so you've got that in place. So we're this week, I'll have a list of things that use this in a scene, use this in a scene, use this in a scene, right? So squash and stretch bouncing ball, some sort of spinning stuff, some physics, some spawners, just have fun with it in terms of putting those things together in like a fun and interesting way that does, something. Does that make sense for everybody? Okay, good. And again, it's going to be mostly you presenting this. You'll fire up Unity. So next week will be more exciting than this week where everyone showed us the same bouncing ball. Do something interesting with these parts, right? I've gave you a bunch of parts that work, and you can decide how to use them. Again, that's called modular design, right? We're going to keep doing this. You'll get some more parts, right? But you should be able to combine them infinitely to all sorts of interesting stuff. Sound good? Okay, awesome. And we're done.